Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Lena. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to do a kind of a guide. Could we consider this a guide? Probably. But we're going to talk about some fantasy recommendations, some adult fantasy recommendations for you that have been reading YA fantasy for a long time. Maybe you just want to, like, you fit a little bit into adult fantasy. I have chosen, I think it's 10 or 11 books, but these are mostly like really easy to follow adult fantasy. The magic is not hugely complex. Also, there are not that many POVs, or maybe there's just one. Still, they are all adult books. So let's just get started. So before I forget, I'm just going to call this one here, Shadow of a Dead God. I read this one last autumn, I believe, and I really enjoyed this one. If you like kind of humor in your books, you're really going to enjoy this. I'm not a huge humor fan, but this one just hit right on the spot. But basically in this one, we're going to follow our main character, and he is basically pulling up this kind of heist with his best friend, but something goes wrong, and when they get there, someone gets killed, and they are basically framed for the murder, and he basically has to find out who the hell did it. It's kind of a mix between fantasy and murder mystery. It's really cool. I really like this one. It's such a fun read. It's also really easy to read and to follow, so I would highly recommend this one. Then another recommendation that I have here is The Emperor's Blades by Brian Staffley. I thoroughly enjoyed the series. I still need to read the third one, but still the first one and especially the second one are just so good. Basically this one, we're going to follow 3 POVs, but that's it, that's the max. They're very distinct from one another, so you're not going to have any trouble following them basically. In this world, the Emperor has just been slain. No one knows who did it, and we're going to follow again his 3 sons. The first one is Caden, who is going to inherit the throne, and he has been living secluded in a monastery for 8 years, but now assassins are going after him basically. Then we're going to follow Valin. Was it Valin? He has been training his whole life to basically become one of these elite soldiers, and he's basically trying to save Caden. And then the last one that we're going to follow is Adair, and she is basically the one that has stayed in the capital, and she is kind of used sometimes as a spy. She is the Minister of Coin, I believe, if I remember correctly. Well, she was one of the ministers, and she's basically the one that is focused on kind of court intrigue and finding out who the hell went after the king. It's really cool. Really cool. These 3 POVs are fantastic, and I highly recommend this series. Then changing the tone a little bit, if you just want something a little bit more dark, we have here Priest of Bones by Peter McLean. In the last video, I said Brian McLean, but Peter McLean. This is a really simple, straightforward story, and in this one we basically follow Thomas. He was sent to war basically, and now that he has come back, he wants to rebuild his old gang, and he's going to rename it the Pious Man, which is such a cool name, holy shit. But basically this is a gang story. I just recommended this one a couple of videos ago. I really enjoyed it. It's a super easy read, I mean super short, and again, this is the Peaky Blinders book, okay, it's just so simple. But it's so cool, damn. I just got recently Priest of Lies. I really want to get into that one, but yeah, I have a feeling that in the future this is going to be a huge story. Then, if you haven't heard about this one, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why haven't you read this? The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is an Asian-inspired book inspired by actual real events, and man, this series is amazing. I understand that some people have some trouble with the ending of book 3, with book 3 in general, but I still really love this series. I gave all the books 5 stars, I believe. Basically, in this one, we're going to follow Rin, and she lives in the poorest part of this empire basically, and the only way that she can get out is by doing this exam and going to a military academy. The thing is, she really needs to score the highest, because she really doesn't have any money to pay tuition, it's called, probably. So she does, and she is sent to Sinagar, which is this hugely high prestigious academy that basically turns people into generals and such, and it's great. There's a huge change in the middle of the book that I particularly love. I understand that some people might have some trouble with that. Personally, I love it. My favorite book is The Dragon Republic. It's just fascinating. It's huge on this strategy theme. I really love that in books, especially in fantasy books. So yeah, check out the puppy war. I mean, do it. Just do it. So basically, in this world, you can write a word on an object, and they basically do that command. For example, you just have to write kind of move on a wheel, and it would just move on itself. It's really cool. You know, there's a lot of cool gigs with the magic system here, especially in the last part. There's a super cool thing with some handcuffs here. I actually really laugh aloud. Like, there's a lot of humor in this book, but it's, you know, spot on humor. Really liked it. But we basically follow Sansia. She is basically a thief, and one day she gets into this merchant's house and steals this artifact. And you know, the thing is, this is a really powerful, mysterious artifact that everyone is kind of after. So basically all the different merchant houses send assassins after Sansia, and you see the artifact is a talking key, and it's just so cool. Like, so cool. This book is a really funny ride. So then I have here kind of a more of a dark book. If you just like a more grittier reads, I highly recommend that you try Blackstone Heart by Michael R. Fletcher. This is really a great dark read. Like, the world is super depressing and dark. There's necromancy everywhere. There's dead people everywhere also. So careful with that, but if that's your jam, you are really going to like this. Also, the story is really straightforward. There are some like mysteries to resolve, but that's the kind of the main thing of the story. But other than that, you're good to go. So basically in this one, we're going to follow Crane. And the thing is, he wakes up in the middle of nowhere. He's alone. He's kind of lost. But the important thing is that his heart was shattered and spread around the world. And the thing is, he needs to find these different pieces so he can start to remember everything that happened and who he is. It's really cool. It's really dark. It wasn't exactly what I was expecting, but I really, really like this one. The sequel to this, She Dreams in Blood, is coming out this month. Probably really close to the time I will post it. I will post this video. But yeah, I think it was the 16th. I'll be waiting for the paperback edition. Still super cool. Then I have here another super cool series that should be getting more buzz because it's super damn cool. But this is The Wolf of Oren Yarrow by K.S. Villoso. I just thoroughly enjoyed this series, and the final one is coming out really soon. I'm kind of nervous, but I really want to get into that one. But basically in this one, we're going to follow Queen Talien. And the thing is, when she was supposed to be crowned, her fiance just disappeared, leaving her with her child, and they're just like, what the hell happened with this man? So several years later, Talien is now the queen, the bitch queen. Basically, she receives this letter from her actual husband asking her to meet, and this dummy actually goes there and everything is a mess. Let me tell you something. If you're looking for kind of core or political intrigue in this entry of the series, you won't find it. It's kind of a holy shit, everything is crumbling type of novel, so careful with that, but still really cool adventure novel. I really liked it. I really need to finish reading the second one and jump into the third one because I'm so nervous about it. But yeah, I actually really like Talien. I know that she makes really questionable decisions, but I still really like her. And it's also Filipino inspired, by the way. I forgot to say that. Then if you, again, really like humor in books, you can definitely check Kings of the Wyld by Nicholas Eames. This is a really fun ride book. You know, it's not a book that has stuck with me, but when I think about like a fun book in general, I always think about Kings of the Wyld. In this one, we basically follow the band, and it's basically a group of retired mercenaries. They used to have to be like super popular, but now they are all old and kind of living in a little bit of a misery now that they have retired. But the thing is, the daughter of one of them is missing, so they are going to assemble and try to find her. I wasn't expecting the magical creatures in this book. For some reason, I thought it was just more of a low magic type of novel, but it's actually quite heavy on the magical elements. So if you like that, you're going to really like this. But yeah, it's super easy to follow, super engaging read, super fun. Highly recommend this one. I couldn't miss putting this here, but I'm going to include Poe's Gambit by Rob J. Hayes because it's just one of my recent favorite books. Like, I love this one so much. Like, I liked Never Die because this is the second one in a series, but they are all standalones, so you're fine. But I love this. I love this. I'm just, every time I see it on my shelf, I'm just like, such a good book, man. But basically in this one, we're going to follow the art of war. And the thing is, every 100 years in this world, the gods have like this contest, and each one of them selects a human to be their champion, and the one that wins is the god that is going to sit in the Jade Throne for another 100 years till the next contest. The thing is, these last King of the Gods, basically, Batu is the god of war, so humanity has been dealing with war for a long time, so things need to change, and for that we're going to follow Ju. She used to be a strategist for the Seal Prince. The thing is, he died because of her, so she's been living this life of misery, blaming herself, until she is selected to be one of the champions and basically change the fate of the world. And it's just so cool. There's a twist at the end of this that probably many of you will get, but I didn't get it, and it took me such by surprise. I wanted to cry so badly. It was such a betrayal, like, holy fuck. Highly recommend Pons Gambit by Rob J. Hayes. Am I being biased with this book? Not at all. Not at all. So getting closer to the end, we have here Master of Sorrows by Justin Cole. The thing is, I've been seeing this marketed as, well, not marketed, but in Goodreads it says YA, but I don't think this is YA at all. Like, I understand that in this book, our main character is young, but it's kind of his life story, so yeah, but that's it. Like, that's the only kind of YA thing that I could understand here, like being YA, but that's it. So this is great, because this is a take on the Chosen One trope, but on reversal. What if instead of being the hero, you're basically the one destined to kill everyone and be the bad guy and the villain? This book is fucking great. The sequel is finally coming out on May, and I'm so excited. Like, oh. I know that it's a bit slow. That's the main complaints that I have seen, but I just love slow books, so I don't care. But I really like this one. But yeah, basically in this one, we're going to follow Adef, and he lives in this village that is actually hidden from the rest of the world, where we have this academy that basically their task is to collect magical items and just store them safely. So Adef was to really get into this academy and become like a master there, so he can just go outside and collect these artifacts. But yeah, so I've told you, there's a great twist here. It's amazing. I highly recommend this one. And the last one that I have here is one of my favorite series of all time. It is really easy to follow. It's a little bit on the longer side than any of these because the series is 5 books long. We have like a very contained story. A lot of years pass in the first book, but then it's a really slow series because you get the backstories of the main kind of POVs. In this first one, you will only get 3, but then we have new characters, and then we will have their POVs and their backstory, and it's great. The first 2 books in this series, man, are so great. But this is The Painted Man by Peter B. Brett. I love this series. It's again more on the dark side of series, but not like in grim dark fantasy or anything like that. It's more darker, but it's not like that far away. In this one, we're going to start following Arlen. The thing is, in this world, each night, demons basically are kind of formed out of the fog in this place, and they attack people and they eat people, and like they're demons, like they're demons. But the only thing that can keep them at bay are these kind of wardens. Basically, you put them, you paint them, you carve them into wood and such, and they will protect you. The thing is, sometimes this thing fail. And that's going to be the case with Arlen's mom. She basically gets brutally attacked because of a situation very early in the book, and she ends up dying. Arlen realizes that basically men are cowards and they just want to hide behind these damn warded things. But he says, nope, I'm going to fight back the demons. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Because this first book is so good. Like, so damn good. We get like a great backstory. The story of Arlen is one of my favorites. It's just so cool, man. Like, so cool. But all the main characters here have like a great spot in my heart. I don't know why, but it's just so cool. And I really like the second one. In this one, you know, we follow Oren until he's older, and then in the second one, we don't follow Oren, we follow another character when he's young and gets older, and they all meet, and it's just so cool. I highly recommend this series. It's just fantastic. And there's a new entry in the series coming out this year that's called The Desert Prince, and I'm losing my shit over that because I need that so badly. But yeah, guys, that's basically going to be all. Do you have any great recommendations for YA readers, you know, that want to step a little bit into adult fantasy? Because I would love to know that. And I'm sure that there are some series that I haven't thought about that are great for new kind of adult fantasy readers. Please read The Painted Man. I just love this series so much. But yeah, that's going to be all for today. So as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.